You know how everyone says college is where you find yourself? For me, it started with losing my damn mind. I'd never even planned to tour Hillcrest University. It wasn't on my list. Too far from home, too expensive, too elite. But my dad had a buddy whose son went there, and next thing I knew, I was booked for an overnight campus visit, rooming with some sophomore volunteer. I didn't even know the guy's name until I showed up at the dorm. That's where I met Leo. He opened the door in sweatpants and a backwards baseball cap, hair messy, a half-empty bag of Doritos in his hand. "You must be Jordan," he said, like we were already friends. "Come on in," I cleaned, sort of. His room wasn't a mess, but it definitely had college guy energy. Twin bed with tangled sheets, textbooks stacked beside a mini fridge, and a faint smell of pizza that lingered like air freshener. Leo looked like he belonged in a fraternity recruitment ad. Broad shoulders, sun-kissed skin, that casual confidence that comes from being liked everywhere he goes. And me? I was this scrawny, overprepared high school senior with a notebook full of questions and a backpack twice the size of his. "You cool with the floor or you want the bed?" he asked, tossing the Doritos onto the desk. I blinked. "You're offering me the bed?" He shrugged. "You're the guest." That was the first time I noticed the way he looked at people. Direct, like he was always in on some joke he hadn't shared yet. He wasn't just hot. He was disarming. I set my stuff down, trying not to stare. "Floor's fine." He gave a crooked smile. "Suit yourself." We spent the rest of that first hour in casual conversation. He asked me about my high school, what I wanted to major in, whether I had a fake ID yet. I didn't. I asked him about classes, the dorm food, how strict professors really were. It all felt surprisingly easy. He had this way of making you feel like whatever you said was interesting, even if it wasn't. But then something happened that night that I still can't explain. It was around midnight. We'd been back in the room for a while, just talking. I was on the floor with a borrowed pillow, and he was sprawled out on his bed, shirt off now, abs on full display like it was no big deal. "You ever been here before?" he asked suddenly, his voice low in the dark. "Hillcrest?" He shook his head slightly. "Nah, like this, with a guy." It was such a left turn that I froze. I managed a soft, "What?" He turned onto his side, facing me. "You know, like, close, not just friends." I didn't know what to say. My heart was suddenly in my throat. "I'm not," I started, but he cut me off gently. "You don't have to say anything." His eyes were unreadable in the low light, but something about his voice made my chest tighten. "You're not weirded out?" I asked cautiously. He shook his head. "Nah." We were quiet for a while. Then, softly, he asked, "Can I lay down there with you?" I couldn't speak. Just nodded. And he did. He slid off the bed and stretched out beside me, inches away. His arm brushed mine, barely there, but it felt electric. Neither of us moved. We just lay there. Two almost strangers, in the dark, not touching, but everything felt different. And then he whispered, "You're easy to talk to." I didn't answer. I was too busy trying to figure out what the hell was happening. The next morning, everything should have felt awkward. I thought I'd wake up to Leo back in his bed, pretending the night before hadn't happened. I even practiced lines in my head. Must have been tired. That floor was comfier than I thought. Hope I didn't snore. But when I opened my eyes, he was still there. Curled on his side, facing me, one arm slung over his pillow like we were in the middle of a sleepover we'd both secretly wanted. His eyes opened a few seconds later, and for a split second, he looked confused. Then he saw me, and smiled. "Hey," he said, voice rough with sleep. I swallowed. "Morning." Neither of us moved. His arm was so close I could feel the warmth off it. My body was still humming from the nearness, from whatever unspoken thing had hung between us in the dark. "You sleep okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I lied, Did you? Better than usual. Then he stretched, rolled onto his back, and yawned. The waistband of his sweats dipped a little, and I looked away so fast I gave myself whiplash. He caught it. Smirked. You're tense. I'm fine. Uh-huh. He sat up, scratched his head, and reached for his phone. I followed, standing a little too quickly and grabbing my hoodie like it was a lifeline. We didn't talk about it. Not directly. Instead, we moved through the morning like we were normal. Breakfast in the dining hall. A quick tour around the campus. Introductions to a few of his friends, none of whom batted an eye at me trailing beside him like a puppy. Leo was different around them. Louder, funnier, effortless. And yet, every few minutes he'd glance over at me. Not just casual glances, checking glances. Like he was making sure I was still there. Still good. During lunch, he leaned in while his friends were distracted and said, "You don't have to act cool, by the way. I know this place is overwhelming." I gave a soft laugh. I thought I was doing okay. "You are," he said. "You just squint a lot when you're stressed." "I do not." "You do." That moment stayed with me all afternoon. But then the sun started to set, and I realized something. This was just one night. One day. I'd be gone tomorrow. Back to my regular life. Back to a place where no one like Leo would ever end up lying beside me on the floor, whispering soft things in the dark. I was trying not to think about that when we got back to the room. I went to the corner to start folding my stuff back into my bag. Leo dropped onto his bed with a sigh. "So," he said casually, "you're leaving tomorrow?" "Yeah." He was quiet for a second. "That sucks." "Why?" He looked over at me. His expression had shifted again. Less cocky, more honest. "Because I liked hanging out." My heart thudded. "Me too." Then he sat up. "Hey, can I ask you something?" I nodded. He hesitated. Then, "Have you ever, kissed a guy?" I blinked. "What?" "I'm just asking." I looked down at the floor. "No." He didn't say anything, just nodded slowly, then quieter. "Would you want to?" I looked at him, really looked, at his mouth, his eyes, the way he was leaning slightly forward, like he was afraid of scaring me off but couldn't help himself. I didn't answer, but I didn't say no. He got up slowly, took a step toward me, then another, and then he was right there. "I don't know what this is," he said, "or why I keep thinking about last night, but I haven't stopped, and I want to try." My voice cracked when I said it. "Okay." He leaned in, slowly, so slowly, and kissed me. It was soft, careful, barely there, but it was real, and it was everything I hadn't let myself hope for. When we finally pulled apart, he searched my face. "You good?" I nodded. "Yeah." "You?" He gave that crooked grin again. "Yeah." Then he added, "Maybe we should try the bed this time." I'd never been kissed like that before, not just by a guy, by anyone. There was no script to follow, no map, just the electric hum of uncertainty and something deeper I didn't know how to name yet. When Leo pulled back, he didn't try to make a joke. He didn't act cool about it. He just stood there, close, like he was waiting to see if I regretted it. I didn't. He reached up and scratched the back of his neck. "So, you okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, you?" "Same." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was loaded, sure, but not uncomfortable, like we were both standing at the edge of something and trying to decide if we should jump. Then he sat down on the edge of the bed and looked up at me. "You want to sit?" I did. So I sat next to him, close, but not touching. His knee bumped mine, and this time, I didn't move. For a long moment, we just sat there, side by side, the air in the room humming with something too big to put into words. He turned slightly toward me. I've never done that before, Me neither. Leo let out a breath, like he'd been holding it for hours. I didn't mean to make things weird. You didn't. I've been thinking about it since last night. The way we were laying there, the way it felt. I turned to him. You seemed comfortable. I was, he said. That's the part that freaked me out a little. He looked at me again. His eyes were serious now. You ever feel like you're only honest when nobody's looking? I nodded. Yeah. Well, he said, you were looking. And I didn't feel like I had to hide. That hit harder than I expected. My throat tightened. He smiled faintly. I've had roommates crash here before. Friends, some guys from my floor after a party. But no one ever made it feel like that. Like what? He tilted his head. Safe. I didn't know what to say to that. So instead, I asked, so what happens now? Leo was quiet for a beat. Then he leaned back on his elbows and let out a slow breath. I don't know. I mean, you're leaving tomorrow, right? Yeah. Right. He rubbed his jaw. This isn't how these things usually go. What kind of things? Room hosting? Overnight visits? He looked at me again, softer this time. Kissing. I laughed under my breath. You've had a lot of overnight guests? Not like you. I turned toward him. What's that mean? You listen, he said. Most people talk, brag, try too hard. You actually listen, and you don't try to be anyone else. I swallowed. You make that sound like a big deal. It is, he said, especially around here. Another long pause. Then he sat up straighter. Okay, real question. If you get into Hillcrest, would you come? I hesitated. I wasn't sure at first. But now... His eyebrows lifted. Now? Now I kind of want to. He smiled again. Good. Then, softly. You think if you do, this, he gestured between us, could be a thing? I looked at him. Do you? He didn't answer right away, but then he leaned in again, slow, steady, and kissed me one more time, longer this time. Firmer. When he pulled back, he was breathing a little heavier. I want it to be, he said. So did I. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't have to. We spent the rest of the evening like that, just talking, quiet, close. When it got late and we both climbed into bed, same side, no more pretending, I felt his arm brush mine under the covers, and I let it stay there. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was uncomfortable, far from it, but because my brain wouldn't shut off. Leo's breathing slowed beside me, steady and even. At some point, his arm draped across my waist, his fingers brushing my hoodie like it was instinct. I didn't move. I didn't want to. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of him, the warmth of him, trying to process what the hell had just happened in the past 24 hours. I came here to tour a school. Instead, I ended up sharing a bed with a guy the first couldn't stop thinking about. When I did drift off, it was light and scattered. I kept waking up to check if he was still there, still breathing evenly beside me, still touching me. Every time, the answer was yes. By the time morning came, neither of us wanted to move. His hand was still on my waist when I opened my eyes. I turned slightly, and he was already awake, just watching me, his head sunk into the pillow, expression unreadable. Morning, he said. I gave a sleepy nod. You sleep? Sort of. Me too. He slid his hand back slightly but didn't pull away completely. You cold? No. Hungry? I nodded. Good, he said, pushing himself upright. Let's get breakfast. The cafeteria was mostly empty. It was early, and most students weren't dragging themselves out of bed until they absolutely had to. Leo walked beside me like nothing was out of the ordinary. Like we hadn't fallen asleep, tangled together in his twin bed just hours earlier. But there was a subtle shift. He stood closer, waited when I stopped to tie my shoe, reached past me in the cereal aisle, and let his hand brush mine like it meant something now. We sat by the window, trays between us. He loaded up on eggs and hash browns. I stuck with oatmeal and coffee. "Did you sleep okay?" he asked again, now that we were in the light. "Yeah," I said. "Eventually," he grinned. "You snore, by the way," I laughed. "I do not." "You do," he teased, mouth half full. "But it's like soft, kind of cute." That shut me up, he noticed. "Too much?" "No," I said. "Just wasn't expecting that." He looked at me for a second, then said, "You make it hard not to say things." "What kind of things?" He shrugged. "Things I probably wouldn't have said 2 days ago. Like calling my snoring cute? Like thinking about what it'll feel like when you leave." My stomach dropped a little. "That obvious?" I asked. He nodded. "I don't usually do this, get like this." "Neither do I." He wiped his hands on a napkin, then leaned in slightly. "Can I ask something?" "Sure." "Would you visit again, if I asked?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah." "You'd come back?" I nodded. "If you wanted me to." He sat back in his chair, looked out the window for a second, then turned back, quieter now. "I do." It was the most serious I'd seen him since I got there. And I felt it, right in the middle of my chest. When we got back to the room, my bag was already packed. Checkout was at noon. The campus representative would be swinging by soon to collect the visiting students. I picked up my backpack, slung it over my shoulder, and stood by the door. Leo stood too, suddenly fidgeting with the hem of his hoodie. "You don't have to say anything," I said quickly. "It was just one night." "No," he said. "It wasn't." I looked at him. "I meant what I said," he continued. "You should come back, even if you don't pick this school. Just come back." "I will." He looked relieved, then stepped forward. "Can I?" he asked, voice low. I nodded before he finished. He leaned in and kissed me again. Soft. Familiar now. But still charged. When he pulled back, he pressed his forehead lightly to mine and whispered, "I'm really glad you came." Then, just like that, the knock came at the door. Time to go. I didn't cry on the ride home, but I kept replaying everything. Every glance, every brush of his hand, every quiet word whispered in the dark, like I was afraid it would all vanish if I didn't hold on to it hard enough. The campus representative chatted casually with the other students in the shuttle van. I barely heard her. My thoughts were 1,000 miles away, or maybe just an hour behind me, back in that cramped dorm room that suddenly felt more like home than my own bedroom did. Leo didn't text me right away. I figured he wouldn't, that maybe the morning light had changed something. Maybe the soft weight of reality had started to sink in for him, and he was already rewriting the story in his head as just a moment or a weird little college experiment. But that night, just as I was getting into bed, my phone buzzed. "Leo, you make it home okay?" I stared at the screen for longer than I should have before replying. "Me? Yeah. You?" "Leo, dorm feels weird without you." My heart did something it hadn't done in a long time. "Me? You say that to all your overnight guests?" "Leo, only the ones I kiss." I grinned. And then, before I could overthink it, "Me, I miss you." He didn't respond right away. I started to spiral, wondering if it was too soon, too much, if I'd scared him off. Then my phone buzzed again. "Leo, me too. So much more than I should." From there, we started texting every day. Not just the polite, surface-level check-ins either. Real stuff. He'd send pictures of his campus walks, blurry shots of his dorm room with captions like, "Wish you were in this bed again," or a selfie of him half awake during his 8 a.m. chem class. And I'd send him clips of my dog snoring, or videos of my friends goofing off at school, or random thoughts that would have felt too dorky to share with anyone else. He didn't make me feel stupid. He made me feel wanted. One night, about 2 weeks later, I got this voice memo from him. He sounded tired, like he was lying on his back, talking into his phone in the dark. "Leo," in the recording, I can't stop thinking about you, about that night. I keep wondering what it would have been like if we had more time. I know this sounds insane because we barely know each other, but I don't think I've ever connected with someone like that. Not that fast, not that real. I don't know what we are, but I want to find out. I really do. I listened to that message 4 times before replying. Me, text. So let's find out. He replied almost instantly. Leo, come back? Me? When? Leo, this weekend? And just like that, I was looking at bus tickets. The second visit felt completely different. The first time, I came as a stranger with a backpack. A prospect. Maybe. This time, I showed up knowing exactly where to go, which door to knock on, and whose arms I was hoping to fall into. Leo opened the door wearing the same hoodie he'd worn that first night, but now it felt like something else, like a shared memory. His smile when he saw me was quick, wide, real. Hey, he said, stepping aside. Hey, I replied, stepping in. The room looked the same cluttered desk, same bed with the rumpled sheets, same faint smell of pizza and cheap detergent, but everything felt different. Familiar, warm, like a space that was quietly waiting for me to come back. I dropped my bag. He shut the door. For a moment, we just looked at each other. You grew your hair out, he said, brushing a thumb behind my ear before I could even answer. You noticed? Of course I noticed. I don't remember who leaned in first. All I know is 1 second we were standing there awkwardly, and the next we were kissing. Deeper than last time. Not tentative, not testing, just familiar. His hand slid under my hoodie like he was remembering where everything went. I pressed closer like I was trying to memorize him by touch. When we finally pulled back, we were both breathing heavier. I miss that, he said softly. Me too. We didn't go to the dining hall, didn't see the rest of campus. That whole Saturday was just us, on the floor, on the bed, on opposite ends of the couch, throwing popcorn at each other and laughing about absolutely nothing. At one point, Leo looked over at me, legs stretched out across my lap, and said, So, when are you going to tell me if you're applying here for real? I shrugged. I already did. His eyebrows lifted. Wait, what? Early decision, 2 days ago. He blinked. You serious? I nodded. Then his whole face lit up. He sat up, threw his arms around my neck, and kissed me again. This time, right on the cheek, quick and excited. I didn't want to pressure you, he said, but holy SH*T, that makes me really happy, I laughed. You weren't subtle, Leo, he grinned. I know. That night, we were back in bed, lying sideways across it this time, fully clothed, his head on my chest, my fingers tracing the hem of his sleeve. He said, You think this is stupid? What? This, he said, you and me, getting this close this fast. I thought for a second. Then I said, It'd be stupid not to. He didn't say anything, just curled a little closer and whispered, I'm scared of wanting this too much. You're not alone in that. And we left it there. But when I woke up the next morning, his hand was still in mine. It wasn't a fairy tale after that. We didn't suddenly start calling each other boyfriend. We didn't post selfies with soft captions or hold hands walking across campus. Not yet. What we had was something quieter, realer, something that lived in the in-between. He'd call me after late classes just to say goodnight. I'd send him photos of the sky from my bedroom window because he once told me sunsets reminded him of calm. He'd respond with videos of him humming off-key in the shower or flipping off his midterm notes with captions like, Save me. And every few weekends, I'd find a way back. Each visit felt less like a trip and more like coming home. Leo started introducing me to people, not as his roommate from the tour, but just me, Jordan. Sometimes his friend, sometimes without a label at all. But the way he looked at me, that said enough. One night in November, we were lying on his bed, a movie playing in the background neither of us was watching. My head was on his shoulder, his thumb absent-mindedly stroking my arm. There was a pause, soft, slow. Then he said it. "I think I'm falling for you." My stomach flipped. My heart did something weird and wobbly. I sat up slightly, unsure if I'd heard him right. He didn't flinch. He didn't take it back. "I mean it," he said. I swallowed. "You sure?" He smiled. Tired, but clear. "I've never been more sure of anything that scares me this much." I didn't know what to say. So I said the only thing that felt true. "I think I already did." After that night, we didn't need to define it. We didn't need the perfect Instagram caption or the perfect moment. We had us. The acceptance email came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. I was sitting in my school library, half asleep, pretending to write an essay. When the notification popped up, my heart stopped. Subject: "Congratulations from Hillcrest University." I didn't even open it right away. I just stared at the subject line, mouth dry, fingers trembling slightly over the trackpad. Then I finally clicked. I read the first line 3 times before it sunk in. "We are pleased to inform you." I didn't scream. I didn't even smile. I just sat there, motionless, overwhelmed. And then I texted him. Me. Got in. Leo. Wait. Leo. You got in? Me. Yeah. Just now. Leo. Dude. I'm gonna scream in the library. Leo. Screw it. I'm running down the hall right now. Leo. I'm so and proud of you. I sat back in my chair and let it wash over me. Not just the acceptance. Not just the fact that I'd actually made it, but the fact that someone I cared about deeply, really deeply, was waiting for me, rooting for me, making space for me in his life. Over the next few months, we figured things out. Slowly, naturally. Leo drove up to visit me once, met my mom, awkwardly made conversation over meatloaf. I sent him a handwritten note on his birthday, folded between 2 Polaroids I'd taken of us on campus. We didn't rush anything. We didn't have to. By the time fall came around again, I moved into a dorm down the hall from his. But I didn't sleep there much. Leo's bed still had that same old squeaky frame and the same crooked poster above the desk, but it was ours now. The space between us was gone. The uncertainty replaced with a kind of calm that made my chest ache in the best way. One night, during a warm September rain, we stood outside under the overhang near the student center, just watching the drops bounce off the concrete. Leo nudged me with his shoulder and said, "So what are we calling this now?" I looked at him, smiled, and said, "I don't know. Love?" He didn't answer. He just pulled me in by the collar of my hoodie, kissed me like the answer was obvious, and whispered, "Yeah. Let's go with that."